Well, it's really, I guess, what we've come to expect from him. It was like the lines that we get at Prime Minister's question. It was old-fashioned Boris boosterism. I'm not quite sure I'm ever going to get that image of Boris and his space opera out of my mind. Look, I'm just glad that it's over, because when this is a Prime Minister that I think has undermined the office that he's held. I mean, I wish him and his family all the best today. But quite simply, he was not the right person to be Prime Minister of this country. So many things that he's done. I mean, the fact that he was a Prime Minister that broke the law while in office, that disrespected the rules, the laws that he put in place, and I think many people just simply could not get over a Prime Minister that thought that the rules weren't for him. Look, that's over, and we now move on. We seem to lurch from one crisis to another, and I would argue that today we face the biggest economic crisis that Scotland and the United Kingdom has had since the 1970s with the oil price shock. And how we react to that is really going to be crucial, because today people are really worried about how they're going to face rising energy bills. People are really worried about even being able to put their heating on, to be able to put food on the table. Businesses that face calamitous increase in costs. And I'm glad that there is an emerging consensus that government has to step in. I think all of us recognise that we have to put a stop to the increase in energy bills, and we need to remember that to a large extent this is a consequence of the Ukraine war, and we all stand with our friends in Ukraine against the illegal war that Putin is engaged on them. But that's created a dislocation in the gas markets in particular. Consumers should not be paying the price for that. And my message to Liz Truss today is, let's make sure that we're imposing windfall tax on the energy companies that are benefiting from this, and let's make sure that at times still of relatively low interest rates that we fund this through government debt. It can't be that the costs of energy prices rises are going to be passed on to the consumer, whether it's today, tomorrow, next year or down the line. We're in the situation, as we were with Boris Johnson, that the only people that are choosing the Prime Minister have been Tory party members, and we know that from the programme that she's outlining, this is not what was contained in the Tory party manifesto in 2019. So my message is a simple one: let the House of Commons deal with the cost of energy crisis. Let's put in place the support that individuals and businesses need, and then let's have an election, because it's only right that the people in Scotland, people right throughout the United Kingdom, have their say in who they want to be their government. And crucially for us in Scotland, the debate that we need to have is whether Scotland should becoming an independent country, our right to have a referendum on Scotland's future. She's not learning any of the lessons that Boris Johnson should have learned, because it's not for Boris Johnson, Liz Truss or anybody else in number 10 to determine whether or not Scotland becomes an independent country. That's a matter for the people of Scotland, and it's about respecting democracy, and it's about respecting people's right to choose. And I'd simply say to Liz Truss that in the Scottish election in 2021, the SNP and the Greens stood on a manifesto commitment of delivering a referendum on independence. We won that election. There's an independent majority in the Scottish Parliament. We hear often about the UK respecting the devolved administration, that Scotland was to lead the United Kingdom. Westminster has to recognise that the government in Scotland has that mandate and has the right to call that referendum. And I regret the fact that because of the intransigence of Westminster, I'm not seeing sense that the Scottish Government are having to take this case to the Supreme Court in October. But one thing I will say today is that a referendum will happen, and it'd be far better if Westminster recognised that they need to respect the rights of the people of Scotland to have their say in the future. Let's make sure that that referendum can happen. Two things I believe will happen. One is I believe that a referendum will take place. I think people in Scotland are demonstrating the desire to see that. But secondly, when we have that debate about Scotland's future, and we discuss energy, for example, and the massive opportunity that we've got to upscale our green energy production, but use that then to kickstart a green industrial revolution, to take Scotland back into Europe, I'm absolutely confident that we will win that debate, we will win that argument, we will have the referendum, and Scotland will become an independent country.